Do you know why the greatest mysteries were always called unspeakable? Why the most profound truths were termed ineffable? Why the highest name of God was never to be spoken? Because, my dear wonderful friends, in the silence lies the power. Let me share something remarkable with you. In the beginning of creation, before God spoke, "Let there be light," there was silence. This primordial silence was not empty. It was pregnant with all possibility. It was not absence. It was pure potential. This same silence, this same pregnant pause of infinite potential exists within you right now. Consider this. Have you noticed that those who talk constantly about their desires rarely achieve them, while those who quietly go about their way saying nothing seem to manifest everything? This is not coincidence, my friends. This is law. Let me share a personal experience that will illuminate this truth. Years ago, when I first discovered this principle, I had a burning desire to lecture in New York City. Everyone told me to network, to spread the word, to tell people about my ambitions. But something within me, that still small voice, urged silence. For 6 months, I said nothing to anyone. I held my desire in the silence of my heart. I would sit in the silence each night, feeling the reality of standing on that New York stage. I didn't speak of it, didn't announce it, didn't even hint at it. And then, my friends, without any effort on my part, without a single word being spoken, the invitation came. You see, when you speak of your desires, you dissipate their power. It's like opening the oven door while the bread is baking. You let out the heat and the bread falls flat. Every time you speak of your ambitions, your dreams, your goals, you are opening the spiritual oven door. Let me share something profound from Scripture. In the book of Exodus, we read, "The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace." Notice it doesn't say, "and ye shall speak affirmations," or "and ye shall tell everyone your plans." No, it says, "Ye shall hold your peace." This peace, this silence, is not passive. It is the most active force in the universe. It is the silence of creation itself. When you enter into this silence, you enter into the very workshop of God. Consider the mighty oak tree. Does it announce its intentions to grow? Does it proclaim its future height? No, in perfect silence it grows. In perfect silence, it manifests its full potential. This is the way of nature, and nature, my friends, never fails. Tonight, I will show you how to enter into this silence, how to maintain it, and how to let it work its perfect work in your life. For when you truly understand the power of silence, you will never again feel the need to speak of your desires, to announce your intentions, or to seek validation from others. You will learn why the ancient masters taught their deepest truths in silence, why the greatest achievements are always conceived in silence, and why your own infinite power awaits you in the silence of your own being. This silence, my dear friends, is not the mere absence of sound. It is not the silence of meditation, though that is part of it. It is the profound silence of knowing so deeply that words become unnecessary, knowing so completely that speaking would only diminish the truth. Let me share another experience. A lady once came to me in deep distress. She had been telling everyone about her visualizations, her affirmations, her intentions. For years, she had talked about what she was going to manifest, and for years, nothing had manifested. I told her one thing: for the next 30 days, say nothing about your desires to anyone. Hold them in sacred silence. She looked at me as if I had asked her to stop breathing, but she agreed to try. Within those 30 days, more manifested for her than in the previous 3 years of constant talking. You see, she had finally learned to hold her peace and let the Lord fight for her. This, my beloved friends, is the first key to understanding the power of silence. When you truly grasp this principle, you will understand why all great spiritual teachings begin with silence, why all great achievements are conceived in silence, and why your own infinite power awaits you in the silence of your own being. The first law of silence states this profound truth: all power is in the unspoken word. The moment you speak of a thing, you begin to rob it of its power. This is why the ancient mystery schools demanded absolute silence from their initiates. They understood that power accumulates in silence and dissipates in speech. Let me explain this law through a simple yet profound analogy. Imagine you have a pot of boiling water with a tight-fitting lid. As long as that lid remains sealed, the pressure builds, creating enormous power. But the moment you lift that lid even slightly, the pressure escapes and the power diminishes. Your words are like lifting that lid. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how the most powerful people rarely speak of their plans? They move in silence, like great ships in the night, revealing their presence only after they have reached their destination. This is no coincidence, this is law. Let me share an experience that will illuminate this truth. A young man came to me bursting with excitement about his new business venture. He could hardly contain himself, telling everyone he met about his plans, his strategies, his expected success. I took him aside and said, "My friend, you are spending your fortune before you have earned it." He looked puzzled, so I explained. Every word you speak about your venture is like spending spiritual currency. You are broadcasting your energy instead of building it. Enter into the silence and let your success do your talking. You see, my beloved friends, there is a spiritual principle at work here that few understand. When you speak of your desires, you are actually creating resistance to their manifestation. It's as if the universe itself has a law of inverse proportion. The more you speak of a thing, the less likely it is to manifest. This is why Scripture tells us, "Be still and know that I am God." Notice it doesn't say, talk about being still or tell others about your knowledge. It says simply, be still. Let me share something profound about this law that few understand. The power of silence is not in what it doesn't do, but in what it does. Silence builds, silence accumulates, silence magnetizes. When you maintain perfect silence about your desires, you create a vacuum that the universe must fill. Consider the process of gestation. Does a pregnant woman need to announce her condition? No. The evidence will manifest in due time. Your desires, your ambitions, your dreams are spiritual pregnancies. They require the same sacred silence for proper gestation. Here's another vital aspect of this law. When you maintain silence about your desires, you eliminate all opposing forces. Think about this. How can anyone oppose what they don't know about? How can doubts arise about what hasn't been spoken? How can negative opinions form about what remains unannounced? Let me share another experience. A woman once came to me who had been trying to manifest a specific position in her company. She had told everyone about her desire for the promotion, had spoken constantly about her qualifications, had even started dressing for the role she wanted. Nothing had happened for months. I told her, from this moment forward, say nothing. When people ask about your career plans, smile and change the subject. Hold your desire in sacred silence. Within 6 weeks, she was called into her supervisor's office and offered not just the position she wanted, but an even better one. You see, my friends, when you speak of your desires, you create a current of energy flowing outward, but manifestation requires energy flowing inward. Silence reverses the flow. Instead of broadcasting your energy to the world, you begin accumulating it. This is why I urge you, with all the conviction of my being, to take your most precious desires, your most cherished dreams, and lock them in the vault of silence. Don't speak of them, don't hint at them, don't even acknowledge them to others who ask. Let me give you a practical application of this law. Starting tonight, take your greatest desire and make a sacred covenant with yourself to maintain absolute silence about it for 30 days. No matter how tempted you are to speak of it, no matter who asks, no matter what circumstances arise, maintain your silence. During this period of silence, something remarkable will happen. You will feel a building of power within you. It's as if every unspoken word becomes a brick in the foundation of your manifestation. Every maintained silence becomes a force drawing your desire closer to you. Remember this crucial point. The universe doesn't need your words to bring your desires to pass. It needs only your unwavering consciousness of the end result held in perfect silence. This is why Scripture says, "In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength." This silence, my dear friends, is not passive. It is the most active force in creation. It is the silence of the seed growing beneath the earth. It is the silence of the stars moving through space. It is the silence of God Himself as He performs His perfect work. When you truly understand this first law of silence, you will never again feel the need to speak of your desires. You will never again seek validation or confirmation from others. You will know with absolute certainty that your silence is more powerful than all the words you could ever speak. Let me share with you what I mean by a mental diet of silence. Most people's minds are like crowded marketplaces, full of noise, chatter, opinions, judgments, and endless internal dialogue. They wonder why their manifestations don't come to pass, yet their mental atmosphere is so polluted with noise that the still small voice of God cannot be heard. Consider this profound truth. Your mental conversations are more powerful than your spoken words. When you maintain physical silence but continue to engage in mental chatter, you are still dissipating power. The mental diet of silence addresses this deeper level of quietude. Let me share an experience that illustrates this principle perfectly. A gentleman came to me frustrated that despite maintaining physical silence about his desires, nothing was manifesting. When I questioned him deeper, I discovered that although his lips were sealed, his mind was constantly rehearsing conversations about his desires, imagining telling others about his success, mentally defending his choices, inwardly explaining his methods. I told him, "My friend, you are maintaining physical silence while breaking mental silence. This is like closing your front door while leaving all your windows open." You see, the mental diet of silence involves 3 levels of quietude. First, there is the silencing of mental chatter, this constant internal dialogue about your desires, your doubts, your plans. All of it must cease. When a thought about your desire arises, let it pass through your mind like a cloud passing through the sky. Don't engage it, don't elaborate on it, don't wrestle with it. Second, there is the silencing of mental judgment. How many of you constantly judge your progress, evaluate your results, compare your journey to others? This too must cease. Judgment creates ripples in the silent pool of consciousness where manifestation occurs. Third, and most importantly, there is the silencing of mental seeking. This is perhaps the most subtle form of mental noise, the constant seeking, searching, struggling to understand how your desire will manifest. Remember, the how is not your concern. Your only task is to maintain the silence of pure knowing. Let me share another profound experience. A lady who had been studying these principles for years came to me in tears. She had maintained perfect physical silence about her desires, but complained that her mind was screaming. I taught her what I call the Sabbath of the mind, a complete cessation of all mental activity regarding her desire. When a thought about your desire arises, I told her, treat it as you would treat a sound during meditation. Don't fight it, don't engage it, simply let it pass. Within weeks of practicing this mental diet of silence, her entire world began to transform. Here's something crucial to understand about the mental diet of silence. It's not about forcing your mind into silence. Force creates tension, and tension is another form of noise. Instead, it's about developing what I call quiet knowing. Quiet knowing is the absolute conviction that requires no mental rehearsal, no internal discussion, no constant affirmation. It is the silence of absolute faith. Think of a tree. It doesn't mentally rehearse its process of growth. It doesn't engage in internal dialogue about whether its fruit will appear. It maintains perfect mental silence while the law operates through it. Let me give you a practical technique for maintaining this mental diet of silence. I call it the 3 silences. First, when a thought about your desire arises, acknowledge it silently and let it pass. Don't engage it, don't fight it, don't try to suppress it. Simply observe it passing through your consciousness like a cloud passing through the sky. Second, when you feel the urge to mentally rehearse your plan, redirect your attention to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not the thoughts about it, but the feeling of it being done. Third, when doubt or anxiety arises, enter into what I call the silence of knowing. This is not an empty silence, but the full silence of absolute confidence. Remember this vital truth. Your mental atmosphere is the soil in which your manifestations grow. If that soil is constantly disturbed by mental chatter, nothing can take root. But in the silence of pure knowing, everything flourishes. Let me share one final experience about the mental diet of silence. A successful businessman once told me his secret. I never think about my goals, he said. I simply know they are accomplished. This is the ultimate mental diet of silence, the complete cessation of mental effort replaced by quiet knowing. This, my dear friends, is the true power of the mental diet of silence. It's not about suppressing thoughts or forcing your mind into quietude. It's about rising to that level of consciousness where mental chatter becomes unnecessary because you simply know. Start tonight with this practice. When you hold your desire in mind, practice the silence of knowing. Not the silence of suppression, not the silence of effort, but the silence of absolute confidence. Let your mind be as quiet as the depths of the ocean, while on the surface, life continues its perfect expression. Let me share with you these 3 chambers, for they represent the complete architecture of manifestation through silence. Understanding and entering these chambers will transform your entire approach to creation. The first chamber, physical silence. This outer chamber, my beloved friends, is where we begin our journey. But make no mistake, Though it is the outermost chamber, it is far from simple. Physical silence goes beyond merely keeping your lips sealed about your desires. Let me share a profound experience that illustrates this. A man came to me proud that he hadn't spoken a word about his goals to anyone. Yet he was constantly nodding, gesturing, smiling knowingly when certain topics arose. His body was speaking what his lips were not. I told him, my friend, true physical silence includes the silence of the entire body. You see, physical silence encompasses every aspect of your outer expression. Your facial expressions, your gestures, your knowing looks, all must maintain the silence. Even your actions must not betray your intentions. This is why Scripture says, let your moderation be known unto all men. The second chamber, mental silence. As we move deeper into the temple of silence, we enter the second chamber, mental silence. This chamber is far more challenging than the first, for here we must silence not just our outer expression, but our inner dialogue. Mental silence is not merely the absence of thought, it is the presence of knowing without thinking. Consider this profound truth. Does a flower think about blooming? Does an oak tree contemplate how to grow? No, they maintain perfect mental silence while the law operates through them. Let me share something remarkable about this chamber. When you truly enter mental silence, you enter into what I call the frequency of manifestation. Just as a radio must be tuned to the right frequency to receive a broadcast, your consciousness must be tuned to the frequency of silence to receive your manifestation. Here's a vital truth about mental silence. It's not about forcing your mind to be quiet. Instead, it's about rising to that level of consciousness where thought becomes unnecessary. Think of it this way. When you know how to drive a car, you don't think about every movement. You operate from a level of knowing that transcends thought. The third chamber, spiritual silence. Now we enter the Holy of Holies, spiritual silence. This innermost chamber is where the real magic happens. Spiritual silence is the silence of your very being. It is the silence of pure awareness, pure consciousness, pure I am. In this chamber, there's no doer, no doing, and nothing to be done. There is only the silence of pure being. This is why Scripture says, be still and know that I am God. Notice it doesn't say think about being still or try to be still. It says simply, be still. Let me share an experience that illustrates the power of this chamber. A woman who had mastered both physical and mental silence came to me still frustrated with her manifestations. I asked her one simple question. In your silence, are you still aware of yourself as the creator? She admitted she was. That, I told her, is the final noise that must be silenced. You see, in spiritual silence, even the consciousness of being the manifester must dissolve. There must be only the silence of pure being, pure I am. This is why Jesus said, I of myself can do nothing. He had entered the perfect spiritual silence where there is no doer, only the doing. Now, let me share with you how these three chambers work together. In the first chamber, you maintain perfect physical silence about your desire. No speaking, no gesturing, no outer indication of your intention. In the second chamber, you maintain perfect mental silence. No thinking about your desire, no planning, no figuring out the how. In the third chamber, you maintain perfect spiritual silence, the silence of pure being, where there is no separation between you and your desire. Here's a practical technique for entering these chambers, beginning each day with what I call the 3 silences practice. First, for 5 minutes, practice perfect physical silence, not just of speech, but of all outer expression. Then for another 5 minutes, enter mental silence. Let all thoughts dissolve into the silence of pure knowing. Finally, for 5 minutes, enter spiritual silence, the silence of pure being, where there is no you and your desire, only I am. Remember this crucial truth. Each chamber prepares you for the next. You cannot enter mental silence without first mastering physical silence. You cannot enter spiritual silence without first mastering mental silence. Let me share one final truth about these chambers. They are not separate spaces, but deeper levels of the same silence. Like diving into an ocean, each chamber takes you deeper into the silence of pure being, pure I am. Start tonight by entering these chambers consciously. Begin with physical silence, deepen into mental silence, and finally rest in spiritual silence. For in that ultimate silence, all things are possible, all things are accomplished, all things are done. Let me share with you the exact methods by which you can harness this silent power. For knowing without practicing is like having a map but never making the journey. The practice of silent power consists of specific techniques that, when properly applied, will revolutionize your ability to manifest. The silent hour. First, let me introduce you to what I call the silent hour. This is not merely 60 minutes of not speaking. It is a sacred practice that will transform your consciousness. Let me share with you exactly how to implement this powerful technique. Each day, preferably at the same time, you must set aside 1 hour for absolute silence. During this time, you enter what I call the chamber of silent power. Let me share an experience that illustrates the importance of this practice. A successful businessman once came to me, claiming he had no time for such practices. I told him, "My friend, you have no time, times not times, to practice this." Within 1 week of implementing the silent hour, his entire business transformed. Why? Because in silence, we tap into the very power that runs the universe. Here's how to practice the silent hour. First phase, 20 minutes physical stillness. Sit in absolute stillness. Not a finger should move, not a muscle should twitch. This physical stillness is the foundation of silent power. Remember, as without, so within. Second phase, 20 minutes, mental stillness. Allow your mind to become as still as your body. Don't fight thoughts, simply observe them dissolving into silence, like waves settling into a calm sea. Third phase, 20 minutes, spiritual stillness. Enter into what I call the silence of being. This is where you cease to be a person practicing silence and become silence itself. The silent assumption. Next, let me share with you the practice of silent assumption. This is perhaps the most powerful technique I can give you for manifestation through silence. Here's how it works. During your silent hour, after achieving physical and mental stillness, you must enter into what I call the state of silent knowing. This is not visualization, this is not affirmation, this is pure silent assumption of the wish fulfilled. Let me share an experience that perfectly illustrates this. A lady came to me frustrated that her visualizations weren't working. I asked her one question. When you visualize, are you trying to make something happen, or are you silently observing what is already done? This is the key distinction in silent assumption. You see, most people's manifestation practices are noisy, even when they're not speaking. They're mentally straining, struggling, trying to make something happen. Silent assumption is the opposite. It is the quiet recognition of what already is. The silent watch. Another crucial practice is what I call the silent watch. This is the art of maintaining silence, not just during your dedicated practice time, but throughout your daily activities. Here's how to implement it. Throughout your day, whenever your desire comes to mind, practice what I call the silent response. Instead of engaging with thoughts about your desire, simply respond with silent knowing. This is not suppression. It's elevation to a higher level of consciousness. Let me share a powerful technique for maintaining the silent watch. Imagine your consciousness as a deep, still lake. Thoughts about your desire are like stones being thrown into that lake. Instead of creating ripples by engaging with the thoughts, let the stones sink into the depths, leaving the surface undisturbed. The silent Sabbath. Perhaps the most powerful practice I can share with you is what I call the silent Sabbath. One day each week, maintain complete silence about your desires, not just external silence, but complete inner silence as well. This practice is based on a profound spiritual law. Just as the physical world has a rhythm of activity and rest, so too does manifestation require periods of complete silence. Here's how to practice the silent Sabbath. Choose one day each week where you will maintain complete silence regarding your desires. On this day, not only do you not speak of them, you don't think of them, you don't plan for them, you don't even acknowledge them. This is true spiritual rest. Let me share something remarkable about this practice. A student once told me that more manifestation occurred during his silent Sabbath than during all his days of active practice combined. Why? Because in complete silence, the law operates unimpeded. The silent temple. Another crucial practice is creating what I call a silent temple in your living space. This is a dedicated area where you practice your silence. It needn't be large, even a corner of a room will suffice, but it must be consecrated to silence. Here's how to create and use your silent temple. Choose a space where you won't be disturbed. This space should be free from all distractions, no phones, no electronics, nothing that can interrupt your silence. In this space, practice what I call the three silences. The silence of the body, the silence of the mind, the silence of the spirit. The silent manifestation journal. Finally, let me share with you the practice of keeping a silent manifestation journal. This is not a regular journal where you write about your desires. Instead, it's a record of your silent knowing. Here's how to maintain this journal. Each day, after your silent hour, make one single mark in your journal. Not words, just a mark. This mark represents your silent communion with your desire as fulfilled. Over time, these marks become a powerful testament to your silent practice. Remember this crucial truth about the practice of silent power. It's not about what you do, it's about what you allow. In silence, you're not creating, you're allowing creation to express through you. The first principle, silent knowing. The foundation of all achievement is what I call silent knowing. This is not the noisy confidence that needs to proclaim itself, but the quiet certainty that needs no announcement. Let me share an experience that perfectly illustrates this principle. A young entrepreneur came to me, constantly talking about his future success, always announcing his next big move. I asked him, "Do you speak about your next heartbeat? Do you announce your next breath?" He looked puzzled. "No," I explained, "because you are silently certain they will occur. This is the kind of certainty you must have about your achievement." You see, true achievement operates like the law of gravity, in perfect silence. The apple doesn't discuss its journey to the ground. It simply falls in response to an unspoken law. The second principle, silent action. Here we come to a crucial understanding about achievement, the power of silent action. Most people's actions scream their intentions, broadcast their ambitions. But the master of silent achievement moves like the roots of a tree, unseen but unstoppable. Consider this profound truth. The most powerful forces in nature operate in complete silence. The earth doesn't announce its rotation. The sun doesn't proclaim its rising. They simply act in perfect silent harmony with law. Let me share with you the 3 levels of silent action. Physical silent action. This is action without announcement. You move toward your goal without declaring your movement. Your actions speak, but your lips remain sealed. Mental silent action. This is action without mental noise. You proceed without internal dialogue, without constant self-commentary, without mental rehearsal. Spiritual silent action, this is action from pure being. You move not as someone trying to achieve, but as the achievement itself expressing. The third principle, silent power. Here we touch upon perhaps the most profound aspect of silent achievement, the understanding that true power operates in silence. Let me share something remarkable about this principle. The most powerful moment in any achievement is not the moment of visible success. It's the silent moment of absolute knowing that precedes it. This is why Scripture says, "Before they call, I will answer." The achievement is completed in silence before it ever becomes visible. Consider these aspects of silent power, the power of silent certainty. This is not the certainty that needs confirmation or reassurance. It is the quiet knowing that simply is. The power of silent progress. True achievement doesn't announce its progress. Like a seed growing beneath the earth, it maintains perfect silence until manifestation is complete. The power of silent presence. This is the state of being where achievement is not something you're working toward, but something you're silently expressing. The fourth principle, silent timing. One of the most crucial aspects of silent achievement is understanding what I call silent timing. Most people rush to announce their moves, reveal their plans, declare their intentions. The master of silent achievement understands the power of silent timing. Let me share an experience that illustrates this perfectly. A woman came to me frustrated that her achievement seemed to keep slipping away. When I observed her, I noticed she announced every move before it was made. I taught her what I call the silent calendar, letting a seed ripen in silence until its perfect moment of expression. Here are the 3 aspects of silent timing. The silence of preparation. This is the period where you work in complete silence, telling no one, showing no one, simply preparing. The silence of process. This is the period where the achievement is actually forming, like a baby in the womb. Perfect silence must be maintained. The silence of manifestation. This is where most fail. They break silence just before manifestation is complete. Maintain silence even as your achievement becomes visible. The 5th principle, silent victory. Here we come to the crowning principle of silent achievement, what I call silent victory. This is perhaps the most difficult principle to master, for it goes against every worldly instinct. When achievement comes, when success manifests, When victory is won, maintain your silence. Let me share why this is so crucial. The moment of achievement is not the end. It is merely a visible confirmation of what was already true in silence. By maintaining silence even in victory, you maintain the channel through which greater achievements will flow. Consider these aspects of silent victory. The silence of accomplishment. Let your achievements speak for themselves. The truly accomplished never need to proclaim their accomplishments. The silence of success. True success is like the sun. It needs no announcement, no proclamation. Its presence is self-evident. The silence of mastery. The true master is known by their silence. They need not speak of their mastery. It speaks through their being. Let me share with you the practical application of these principles. Begin tonight with what I call the silent achievement practice. Choose your next achievement. Enter into perfect silence about it, physical, mental, and spiritual. Move toward it with silent action. Maintain silence even as it manifests. Continue in silence after it is achieved. Remember this profound truth. The greatest achievements in history were first accomplished in silence before they ever became visible to the world. Your achievement is no different. Begin now to walk the silent way of achievement. Let your silence be your power, your knowing be your proclamation, your being be your doing.